The Piano by Rosemary Border, Part 2. Chapter 6. Mr. Gordon Finds a Musician. Mr. Gordon was the teacher at the little village school. He was a kind old man, and the children liked him. They enjoyed his lessons, and he enjoyed teaching them. There was no piano at the school. This sometimes made him a little unhappy, because he loved music very much. But he sang with the children. He filled their young minds with songs and stories. It was a happy school. One night during the summer holidays, Mr. Gordon wanted a book. He looked everywhere. "I know," he said suddenly. "I left it at school. I'll go there at once. It isn't far away." He walked through the school garden. The door of the school was open. He felt in his pocket for the key. It was not there. "Oh dear," thought Mr. Gordon, "I forgot to lock the door. Now somebody is in the school. Perhaps it's a thief. What can I do?" Then he heard the music. Tony played the same line of music again and again. It was not easy. "Prestissimo," said the words at the top of the page, very fast. His fingers flew over the keys. Mr. Gordon stood and listened. There was a happy smile on his face. Then Tony stopped playing. "That wasn't right," he said to himself. He looked carefully at the little black notes on their thin black lines. The left hand goes like this. Mr. Gordon spoke. "And the right hand goes like this." Tony turned round. His face was white. "Don't tell the police," he said. "Please, I haven't stolen anything. I haven't done anything wrong." No, of course not," said the teacher. "But who are you? What are you doing in my classroom? And how did this piano get here?" Mr. Gordon visited the farm and talked to Mr. and Mrs. Wood. "Tony is very special," said Mr. Gordon. "I have been a teacher for 40 years, but I have never met a boy like Tony. He must have music lessons at once. Then he must go to the College of Music in London. He needs to work with other musical boys and girls." "But his mother and father are poor," said Mrs. Wood. "They can't pay for music lessons. They can't send him to college. They have 5 small children at home. Tony sends them money every month." "I can give Tony his first lessons," said Mr. Gordon. "I don't want any money. I'll be very happy to teach this wonderful boy. I feel, how can I explain to you? This is a very exciting time for me. Last night I came to school to look for a book, and I found a musician. But Tony learns very quickly. Soon he will need a really good teacher. Then we'll have to think about money. Perhaps Tony can go to the College of Music in the daytime and work in a restaurant in the evenings." "No, he can't," said Mr. Wood. Suddenly his face was red and angry. "Tony is a good boy. He's like a son to us. His father is poor, but we are not." "That's right," said his wife. She was usually a quiet woman, but her eyes were bright and excited. "We will send Tony to the College of Music," she said. Tony knew nothing about their conversation. He was cleaning Mr. Wood's new car when Mr. Gordon visited the farm. But that visit changed his life. Mr. Wood had a quiet talk with him later. "Mr. Gordon wants to give you piano lessons," he told Tony. Tony's eyes shone like stars. Then he shook his head. "I haven't any money, sir," he said. "Mr. Gordon doesn't want any money. I've had a talk with him. You're going to go to the school at 4 o'clock every afternoon. You will have your lesson, and you will practice on the piano for 2 hours. Then you'll come back to the farm and have your supper." "But my work," began Tony. "I can find another farm boy," said Mr. Wood, "but good musicians are special people. Give me 3 tickets for your first concert, and I'll be happy." Chapter 7. The Music Competition. Tony worked and worked. He got up at 6 every morning. He worked on the farm until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but every minute of the day music filled his mind. At 4 o'clock he cycled to his piano lesson with Mr. Gordon. He practiced until 7 o'clock. Then he cycled back to the farm for supper. After supper he read Mr. Gordon's music books. Often he fell asleep at the kitchen table. At night, while he slept, his mind was still full of music. Small black notes danced in front of his eyes. When he woke up, the music was still there. Tony lived in a world of music. The leaves fell from the trees. Winter came. It was dark when Tony got up in the mornings. It was dark when he cycled to his piano lesson, and it was dark when he cycled back to the farm again. Sometimes it snowed. Then he had to walk to and from the school, but he never missed a lesson. "How's the boy getting on?" the farmer asked Mr. Gordon one day. "Very well," said the teacher, "but he's too quick for me. Soon he'll need a real teacher." Spring came, and the trees were green again. "There's a music competition in the town on June 12th, said Mr. Gordon one evening. "Can I go and listen?" asked Tony. "No," said his teacher. "I will go and listen. You are going to play in that competition." "But I can't do that. I need to practice more. I'm not ready," said Tony. "You will be ready," said his teacher quietly. Mr. Gordon was a kind old man, but he made Tony practice for 4 hours every day. Another boy helped Mr. Wood on the farm while Tony practiced for the competition. 2 weeks to go before the competition, said Mr. Gordon one evening. Look at this. This is the program. The program was big and beautiful and expensive. Tony looked for his name. He found it. Anthony Evans, age 15, piano. "Nobody calls me Anthony," he said. "Why can't they call me Tony?" "Tony is a boy's name," said Mr. Gordon. "Anthony is a man's name. Tony Evans was a farm boy. Anthony Evans is a musician. One day, Anthony Evans will be famous all over the world, and from today, I'm going to call you Anthony." On the morning of the competition, Mr. and Mrs. Wood and Anthony went into town in the car. While Mr. Wood had a drink with some friends, Mrs. Wood took Anthony shopping. She bought him a new brown suit and a new white shirt. Then she took him into a shoe shop, and Pip's father sold her some new shoes for Anthony. They were beautiful shoes. They shone like glass, and Mrs. Wood liked them very much. The shoes were too small, and they hurt Anthony's feet, but he did not say anything. What could he say? Mrs. Wood paid for the shoes, and Pip's father put them in a box. "I hear you're playing in the music competition tonight," he said to Anthony. "I saw your name in the program. Anthony Evans. It sounds wonderful. Good luck." In the evening, the Wood family and Anthony drove to Mr. Gordon's house. Mr. Gordon came out. He was wearing his best suit. "You look wonderful, Mr. Gordon," laughed Mrs. Wood. "Are you getting married?" The old man got into the car, and they all drove to the competition. The Woods went to their seats, but Mr. Gordon took Anthony through the stage door. He took him to a room behind the stage. A lot of musicians were waiting there. The women were wearing long dresses. The men were wearing evening suits. Nobody spoke to Anthony. "Goodbye, my boy," said Mr. Gordon, "and good luck." Anthony sat in the waiting room for a long time. His feet hurt. They burned like fire. His hands felt cold. They were shaking. From a long way away he heard the sound of a piano. Every few minutes a man came in and called someone's name. After a long time the man came in and said, "Mr. Evans, please." Anthony did not move. Nobody usually called him Mr. Evans. "Mr. Anthony Evans, please," said the man again. "Come along, we haven't got all night." Anthony got up. "Oh, my feet hurt," he thought. He followed the man up some stairs. "I'm walking like Charlie Chaplin," he thought. "Everybody will laugh at me." He walked onto the stage and sat down at the big piano. The dark wood shone like glass. He could see his face in it. He turned round and looked at the sea of faces. He could not see the Wood family. He could not see Mr. Gordon. But suddenly Anthony felt their love and their kindness. His feet stopped hurting. His hands stopped shaking. He touched the piano. It was much bigger than the old piano in the classroom. The keys looked very clean and new. He wanted to touch them. "Well, he said to himself. Of course I want to touch them. That's why I'm here. And he began to play. He forgot about himself. He forgot about all the strange people in the theater, and he just played for his friends. He played for Mr. and Mrs. Wood. He played for Lynda. He played for Mr. Gordon. And he played for old Mrs. Lark. Where are you now, Mrs. Lark? He thought. Do you remember Tony Evans? You gave us a lot of happiness, Mrs. Lark. Thank you, thank you. His hands flew over the piano keys. Beautiful sounds filled the theater. He's going to win the competition, Mr. Gordon said to himself, and this is the happiest day of my life. And Anthony won the competition. He knew that he was the winner because he saw his photograph in the newspaper the next day, but he could not remember anything about it. All he remembered was his feet. When he got out of the car, he could not walk. His new shoes hurt too much. Mr. Wood helped him into the kitchen while Mrs. Wood filled an old tin bath with warm water. Lynda took Anthony's shoes off. His feet were very hot and red. He put them in the warm water. This is wonderful, he said. You've won, shouted Mrs. Wood. Forget about your feet, boy. You've won the competition. This is the most important night in your life. But Anthony was too tired to answer. They helped him up to bed, and he slept until 9 o'clock the next morning. Lynda brought him breakfast in bed. He felt very strange and uncomfortable. I've never had breakfast in bed before, he told her. Chapter 8. The End of the Story. Sir Anthony Evans turned to me. That competition was the start of wonderful things for me, he said. I went to the College of Music for 3 years. Of course I worked hard, but I enjoyed every minute. I always went back to the farm for my holidays, and one summer, when I was 20, I asked Miss Lynda Wood a very important question. I can't give you much, Lynda, I told her, but one day I shall be rich and famous. Then I'll come back again and I'll ask you to marry me. She gave me a long, loving good look. Then she laughed. Oh, Anthony, she said, don't wait until you're rich and famous. Ask me now. So I did, and here we are. We've been married for 60 years. 5 years ago, the Queen invited us to Buckingham Palace. I was Mr. Anthony Evans when I went into the palace. I was Sir Anthony Evans when I came out. And, he took his wife's hand, my dear Lynda was Lady Evans. There was a knock at the door of the dressing room. 2 minutes, Sir Anthony, said a voice. The famous musician stood up. I'm ready, he said. He turned to me. How many concerts have I given? 2,000? 3,000? For me, every concert is new and exciting. Now go, my dear, and write your story. Tell the readers of your newspaper that I am a very lucky man.